Excited for our PLM webinars.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming to today's webinar. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations for 3HTI, and we're continuing our Windchill series for Windchill webinar series rather. And today we're going to look at collaboration with the Windchill project link, which is a part of Windchill PLM system. Leading the presentation and demonstration today is Zach Carson, who is a solutions consultant and applications engineer with PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence. And Zach always does a great job on these webinars. And we also have Jeff Gavio, our Director of Marketing, on today as a panelist. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to type those into the chat box. And without laboring any longer, Zach, why don't you get into the presentation and the demo?
Yep, let's do it. All right, everyone. Well, as Rob said, today we're going to be going through Windchill's Project Link. The idea with Project Link is really to help you to collaborate within your company and with your entire supply chain and manage really all of the associated data just in one central and secure location. Now, from talking to so many companies in the industry, we've found that most face pretty similar challenges when it comes to data collaboration. And it starts with a high need for differentiated products and a constant drive to get that to the market faster. And of course, everyone's dealing with the constant pressure for market demand, but also to reduce supply chain spending. And that's really, really difficult to do whenever you have an expanding market. You have more options constantly coming out. There's more partners or suppliers or vendors that you're working with, and frankly, more intricacies that you have to manage than you ever have had to manage before. Because of that, and because products have become so complex, naturally, so does your supply chain. So you need to have collaboration and contribution from the suppliers, from the vendors, from different people in your organization, and have them contribute to the designs and to the projects. What these challenges really lead to and the implications from them starts with project delays. I worked in manufacturing. I saw this happen firsthand. I dealt with this firsthand. When you have poor collaboration with the people that you're working with, whether it's inside your company or the suppliers and vendors outside of your company, it causes production to be slowed down to the point where a lot of times you end up missing deadlines, and that is a very, very expensive issue to have. And it ends up with an unhappy customer too. This also a lot of times brings with it major quality issues. You may not always be working with the most up-to-date information or the most up-to-date supply or designs from different suppliers due to the lack of collaboration. With those implications, you put them together, and a lot of times it results in compliance failure. So you may not be meeting certain standards that you have to adhere to simply because your supply chain doesn't have visibility into all of the information that they need. With that being said, what that leads to then is increased product costs. Again, a lot of it just stems from poor supply chain collaboration. You might be spending extra money purchasing duplicate parts. There's items you might not purchase. So whenever the assemblers actually go to build something, they realize a part's not there. You're not doing as good of a job buying in bulk and hopefully getting bulk discounts as you could be. All of these things come together, and it leads to more spending to actually complete the project, which means less profit for your organization. If you're working with suppliers and vendors, you need them to have some visibility into your shared data. That way you can keep each other aware of product improvements. If you're buying a part from them that you're going to use on your product, you need to know if that product changes. They need to know if that object malfunctions, but you have to have a way to do it in a system that's safe and secure to where you're not actually putting your own IP at risk. Ultimately, all of these implications result in increased time to market, which means less profit for you and potentially a dissatisfied customer. PTC's solution to these challenges brings along Windchill Project Link. And it's going to give you things like universal data access to your supply chain to start. So you're actually giving vendors and suppliers the ability to work with strictly their information in your Windchill system. You're only giving them access to what they provide to you or what you want them to work with. You don't have to risk them having access to anything else, but we want them to have some input as well and be aware of your processes and the status of your organization and your product that they're supplying to you. So that way, if anything changes or malfunctions, that both sides are aware of what's going on. You're housing all of your data in a single source of truth, which is Windchill, so that everyone tied to a product or a project can find the most up-to-date information efficiently. Lastly, as with everything that you do in Windchill, you get full digital traceability of your information. You have a full history of changes you go through with any of your vendors or suppliers, just like you do with your different parts and assemblies. So you can end up seeing why you actually made certain decisions and what those decisions actually resulted in. So with that being said, now that that gives you a little bit more context about what Windchill Project Link includes, we'll go ahead and jump into a demonstration. All right, so now we're going to be moving into Windchill itself. Now, if you've never been in Windchill before, you've never seen it, this is essentially the home screen. The idea with the home screen is just personalize it, tailor it to show the information that's really important to you. Today, you can see in the top left, I'm logged in as Peter, who in this case is a project manager. And today we're going to be working with a specific project called the front flip assembly. And before we actually get into that, I'll just show you how you would actually go about, we'll kind of start from scratch here. I'll show you how you would go about creating a new project. So I'll just open up the browser. And within these recent projects, you can see these are the existing projects we have. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be working with I-880 front flip assembly. If I wanted to create a new project, it's really simple to do. I just click on that project icon. And from here, I can go ahead and just create a new project. Now, there's certain information that your company might require to be entered in before we would create this. And you can see some of that denoted by the asterisks beside the attributes, name or even template. If you want your projects to follow a simple template or format and then really just tailor the information for each project, that's a great thing to do. So you can save templates. You can determine who the owner of the project is, who has access to the project. And then also in the bottom, determine if you want this project to be manually executed or even automate the activities and the tasks that are within this project in an effort to try and be a little bit more efficient. So now we're going to open up that specific project, and I'll just start here with the details. And this is really like at a high level, this is the overview for this project. So you can see the basic attributes, you can see the status. In this case, it's green, so it's in work. You can see system information, so just basic information, but you can tailor this screen to show whatever you want pertaining to this project. Now, from this actions dropdown, you'll see we have the ability to execute on some basic actions that pertain to projects in Windchill. Right, so right from this screen, if I wanted to do something like add a new part or add multiple new parts, or maybe I've created this very generic project that I want to save as a template, I could do that from here. Or even if you're using something like Microsoft Projects and you wanted to import a project, you could actually do that from there as well. Within this project, just like if you've worked with products in Windchill, we also have our folders for all of our documentation. In this case, it's specifically for this project. So some of this in here, this might be a space where you actually want to get vendors or suppliers that are providing you with parts. You might want them to get involved, so they would have very limited access in here. And we'll look at more of that here as we go on today. But what you'll see is on the left side of the contents table here, there's a little icon in this case that says shared from PDN. And this is really important because what this means is essentially that this information is being managed in Windchill, and it's essentially been allocated or assigned to this front flip assembly project. This is also where you can start to see the security. So in this case, this might be something that is strictly limited to view-only access, because we have people working here. We don't want them to have any ability to actually work with this. So this project space is essentially giving you a sandbox environment to play in, and to make sure that anyone that's involved has zero chance of seeing anything that you don't give them access to. Now, if I right click on this, let's say this rotating hinge assembly is something that it's a part within this project and it's something that I want to work on. What you can actually do is convert this to a PDM checkout. And this allows users strictly in this project, in this sandbox, to go in and actually make changes to this. And it's not going to, at this point, affect the actual object that's being managed in our company's shared Windchill instance, right? So this is exclusively happening in the project right now. And that's a really important feature. It's a security measure for you. You're getting everyone collaborating, but it's really giving people the ability to only work in the sandbox. Whenever we open it up, you'll really start to see how this works out. So we did a PDM checkout. This part's checked out now. And if you look at the top, what you'll see is the naming convention, or the version, is slightly different than the shared part in Windchill, which would traditionally just be A.1 unless you've configured a different naming scheme. In this case, the current version of this is A-1.1. So what's so nice about this is now your designers could actually reuse a component that exists in Windchill. They could check it out to the project and make very specific project-specific changes to components and not have that impact that shared PDM part that's being used in other assemblies or projects in your shared Windchill space. Now, once that part's checked out, it's essentially going to operate the same as any other WT part that you would work with. You can have a history for it. You can go ahead and make modifications to it. And then once you're done with those, you are able to actually go ahead and check that back into the PDM environment and have those changes propagated throughout your Windchill system. Right, and you'll see here that's referred to in this case as a send to PDM check-in. All right, and now what you'll see here is if I look at this assembly again, this is that shared part, the rotating hinge assembly that we pulled from, or that was allocated to this project from the shared Windchill space. We made changes exclusively in the project. And whenever we checked it back in now, you can see an iteration of that WT part. It went from A.5 to A.6. And if you look at the version history, you can actually see it added a comment in that this was checked in from the project. So we know that that was a project-specific change. Right. Now, beyond just viewing information in our folder contents and doing basic check-in, checkouts, as I've mentioned a few times, a major concern for every company is the security of their information. And Windchill does a really good job with that, all the way down to a user-to-user basis. So this is especially important in keeping in adhering to standards and making sure your processes don't get out of whack. Make sure that nobody is affecting anything that you don't want them to, frankly. So what we can do is within this specific project, we can get very granular with access control. And what you'll see here is I have the ability, I'm a super user in the system, so I have more capabilities than a lot of users that would work in here. But even I can only come in here and edit a few things. There's not a lot that I can actually work with because we're not risking security. Even though I'm a super user, an admin may be limited what even I can do, but I can allocate some of the, or I can take on some of those responsibilities for editing access control kind of downstream from me. But the idea here is we're able to tailor this just within this specific project. So a user who works in Windchill might even have different roles in different projects, and you would be able to tailor their permissions and within each individual project that they're working on. Now, going one step further, if we look at edit access control here again, what you would be able to do is come in here and say, look at this particular part and even tailor the permissions down to a part level. So we start kind of at the maybe overarching Windchill access. Then we got pretty granular working within a project. And now we're extremely granular because we're even editing what people can do with an individual part or an individual document, even within that WT part. So we're truly just nailing down all of our bases and making sure that nobody is doing anything that they're not supposed to. Within this project, moving past security here, we also have the ability to come in here and quickly create new content. Let's say I wanted to create a WT part. There's information that I'm required to enter, just like you saw before. So I have to enter in a name. I have to choose what the source of this is. I have to select on certain information to make sure that we don't have any bland or quote unquote dumb parts that don't really have any information and nobody knows what they are, can't work with them. So we enter in the necessary criteria. And now we can go ahead and if we wanted to edit this, check it out to the project space, make project specific changes. And then once we're done, even though this was a part that was created specifically in the project, we're actually able to push this project or this part back to that shared space. So it doesn't initially even have to exist in Windchill. We can create new project specific parts on the fly or as these things come up and then actually push them backwards to the shared Windchill space for your company. So that's a lot of the basic information. Now we'll actually start to dive into this project a little bit more and take a look at the plan. Now immediately—
Hey, before you dive in, Zach, we have a question.
Okay.
So the question is, can you or do you log time tracking against each project based on actual activity on a project by each user?
Yes, you can do that. So we'll actually, not specifically look at exactly that, but you will be able to see something similar here in a second. So Windchill will track progress. It'll calculate the percentage of work complete, which you can actually see on this screen. You could track it at a more granular level in the project schedule, which we'll see here in a second. And then also Windchill will take the project plan and automatically create Gantt charts for it as well, where you would be able to see a lot of that information too. Okay, good question. Now within this specific project plan, this is basically the home screen for the plan, the details page. You'll see some generic information in here in terms of like percentage of work complete, for example, kind of referencing what we just talked about, the cost of this project, the effort that's been put into it. We've put 1,946 man hours into this project. We can see it's been going on for 179 days. So just in this page, you could tailor this so that it's a general overview of what this project entails. Now, if you want to get more of an idea about what all goes into this, then a good place to go would be the schedule for this project, or in this case, actually the Gantt Explorer, which Windchill will just automatically generate based on the process plan, on the project plan. This is another area where you could actually take this project and export it out if you need to share it with somebody. You could import it from something like Microsoft Projects if you want to. So there's a lot of options there just simply from that actions dropdown. Now, in this case, what you'll see, and this pertains to that question that someone just asked, this is where we can start to see the schedule in a breakdown and really track the progress of this actual project. So you can see here within this project, we have certain stages, right? We use a lot of people that work in Windchill with projects use that stage gate methodology. So we set up stages where we have to complete a certain stage in order to go to and go through a gate to get to the next stage. You can set that up here. So on this screen, you can see not only just work complete, but get more granular and see how long each stage took to complete. You can set up predecessors that say you cannot actually begin this stage until you complete the previous stage, right? So it really is getting granular and setting it up so that you're minimizing risk. It's making sure that not just risk in the terms of people's access, but also that in terms of the actual project, to make sure that nothing is getting out of whack, that everything that needs to be completed in order to move on is being completed, and you're sticking to the process and sticking to the plan that you've laid. Right. Now within this, you can even have some subplans as well, which if I expand, you can see that a little bit more. So you would be able to see here subplans within subplans, and maybe even you set up so that you see users within this that have worked on it, and you see how much that user has completed their own work. So it does get extremely, extremely granular in terms of the actual project plan and putting in deliverables and milestones and setting the predecessors and the order in which tasks need to be completed. It's totally configurable to be laid out by you and make sure that it's following the process that you intended to. Now from here, what Windchill will also do is take this process plan and generate work and generate a Gantt chart. You don't have to do any additional work for this. People in project management use Gantt charts all the time, and this will just generate the Gantt chart for you. So it's a lot of the same information. You'll see a breakdown. In this case, you can actually see specifically within that project cost planning section, about middle of your screen, you can see who completed or who was in charge of these tasks and then how far along they are in completing them. So yeah, basically specifically what the question that you asked was. Now going back to the schedule, some more capabilities that you have just from that actions drop down. You can create new activities, multiple new activities. You can indent and outdent to create sub activities. You can create new baselines or essentially a starting point within a project. And then you can export or save these as a template. So really the template is a great tool for reuse for future projects. You'll essentially just pick and choose project information that you want to carry over to a new project so that in that future project, you don't actually have to start from scratch and lay everything out. You know, you could carry over objects, you can carry over teams or users and really speed up that process. Now within this project, we're going to take a minute here to go and look at the project team. And this is going to be, you couldn't guess who we have working on this project, what their roles are, and who has what accesses depending on what their role is. And all of that's viewable here in this members table. Now, there's always the possibility of movement. You hate to say it, you don't want to see it, but employees leave the company, new people get hired, new people's roles within the company change. So we need to be flexible for that. And what we like to do is really what we call as your self-administration. So I kind of mentioned this before a little bit. You know, I'm a super user. I might be a project manager. We'll act like I'm a project manager. If a new member comes in and has to work on this project, they get reassigned, I need to be able to quickly adapt to that. I don't want to have to go to IT or an admin who's probably already has a lot on their plate, and I don't want to wait for them to give the new user access. I just want to do it myself. So the admins or IT or whoever's in charge could give a project manager or a product manager access to tweak a lot of these things, to come in here and within this project, maybe add a new user so I can get them up and running immediately. They don't have to wait for anyone to add them to the system. And then once they're in here, I can assign them a specific role, which might already have pre-configured capabilities and permissions. I don't have to go and do it again. Maybe these are even outlined by the admins who give you certain access. So as soon as I add someone as a member, just by default, they can do X, Y, and Z. Or if I add them as a designer, they can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know, you can really make it very specific and tailor a lot of this information. And this gives you a good idea. Even as a super user in the system, I'm not an admin. So there's certain things that even I can't do. If you look at the guest column, you can see there's maybe 10 or so boxes that I can modify, but most of them I still don't have access to. So it's making sure that, yeah, we're being efficient. We're able to make changes on the fly and more immediately, but we're not risking security or anyone getting their hands on anything they shouldn't. So the last thing that I want to look at here is just the templates. Now, I mentioned earlier how templates are great for reuse in existing or future projects. Now, within this, you can actually see we have some different templates that have already been added into Windchill. From here, you could quickly access any of these templates or just create a new template, maybe like a document template. And then this document template will exist within the context of this project. And we'll basically designate information that has to be entered or that's going to carry over from document to document in this case, that people will just basically fill in the blank and make sure that we're adhering to and entering all of the information, that it's all there whenever we need it to be. The last thing that I want to look at here within the project is reports. Now, reports in projects or in Windchill are a big deal. It makes it way easier for you to see information, and you basically are letting Windchill do a lot of the work and query on that information and just display it to you in a nice and easy way to absorb it. So we could create a lot of reports out of the box with Windchill. So in the project realm of things, we have reports for the project dashboard, for overdue work, open work, closed work, project status. And this is really all just Windchill querying on information and displaying it in the form of graphs and pie charts, or, you know, really whatever we actually need. It's giving people visibility and an easy way to consume that information. Right, so maybe in this case, we have one for planning. You want to make sure that you come in here, you can see a description of what that report is, and you just want to make sure that there's no, open items, for example. It's a report for open items. It'll query a lot throughout this whole project, so you would be able to see, all right, we have 2 open items. I need to escalate those and make sure that those are addressed immediately instead of pushing them off anymore. So that really is Windchill Project Link. Today we examined all the different project information and different tabs within projects. You saw how we manage and modify that data within this safe and secure project environment, essentially that sandbox that really promotes collaboration and full visibility within a project without risking your IP across the users who are working in this. So with that being said, now that you've seen Windchill Project Link, I just have a few more points I'd like to share just to summarize what this can do for you. Project Link is giving you the ability to increase collaboration by granting different people and companies in your supply chain access to their information in your system in a secure fashion where you work together to access and manage data as efficiently as possible. Beyond that, you're picking and choosing what you want these collaborators to view to keep your data sharing fast and accurate, but also safe and secure. Ultimately, this means you're going to get to your product to the market faster because you'll always be working with the most up-to-date data through Windchill's automated process, through version control and easy collaboration throughout the supply chain. And then lastly, with the increased collaboration and data sharing, you're going to improve compliance of your products and making sure that you're adhering to all those standards and you're not actually ever falling out of that compliance. So that is all that I plan to go through for this demonstration. I do see that we have a few questions.
Yes, we do, Zach. Great job, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, so the first question is there a means of looking at or balancing resource loading across projects?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let me think about that. There is. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I have seen people do it whenever they're pulling from resource pools and allocating resources across a project and making sure that they're, following certain values and not, using too much of one thing or using too much of the supply. I have seen that, but I don't know exactly how it works. I can get more information about the resource loading within projects, and then I can shoot Rob over an email and we can reach back out to you, Darren.
Yeah, that'd be good. That would be helpful. Cool. So the next question is, what does the resource pool look like? Can you define specific skills and certifications there?
The first part of that, I guess, sort of goes back into the first question. The resource pool, I'll have to find out a little bit more about that and shoot it over to Rob. But can you define specific skills and certifications? Yeah, absolutely. You can define certain skills. You can say that user X is skilled in these areas. They are certified in these areas, so they have these certain permissions, whereas someone who does not have this certification is unable to perform certain actions. You can get very, very specific with that.
And the last question that's up right now is, can you go into a little more detail what the deliverable action adds to the project plan?
Yeah, well, I mean, the deliverable action is something that's going to be up to you, really, Remy. It's within your company, within your processes. Do you set up deliverables? And if you set up deliverables or have deliverables or milestones or goals, essentially, that you have to meet, you're putting them into a workflow and tracking them in Windchill via project link and making sure that you're meeting those deliverables in said timeline. So that deliverable could have different information. It could be a completed design. It could be a certain part gets fully assembled and shipped. It's going to be however you define it. Windchill is essentially tracking your progress against those specific goals that you set up in the system.
Excellent. Cool. Zach, nice job.
Thank you.
I think we did good today. So if you have any other questions or anything comes up afterward, you can just respond to the email that I sent you regarding the invitation to this webinar. I get those directly, or you can email us at info@3hti.com, or you could call us toll free 866-624-3484. So another question just came in. Are there any connectors to other project management systems or HRIS systems?
Yes, there is specifically a connection. We already have a pre-built connector for Microsoft projects. I do not know about other ones. Now, I will say Windchill uses an open API. You can pretty much connect to whatever you're willing to write the connection to. So I don't see a connection to a system that you need to connect to being an issue. There might just be a little bit of work involved in doing so. But there is, like Microsoft projects, there's a pre-built connector. I can see if there's any other pre-built connectors too. And I'll send that to Rob as well when I find out more about the resource pools.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Zach, and thank you to those who attended and also participated by asking questions. Next week, our webinar is going to focus more on an introduction to product lifecycle management and Windchill. So it's going to be more of a introductory overview. But I think it's very good for people who are either new to using Windchill or who have been or are currently using a PDM system and are considering what the benefits are of moving to a PLM system that gives you a lot of flexibility like Windchill does. So Zach, thanks again, and I want to thank our audience, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks for being on, and have a great rest of your week.